Mic check, mic check. What's up, 3%ers? There's some things that I wanted to talk about. I just got off of work, or both of my jobs, and I got home, and usually I do stuff like this at night, but I was at work and I was just thinking to myself, like, how I was kind of like programmed, as we all are as a kid, through the stories that we hear. Like, if you're a 90s kid, you grew up with Disney and Disney movies, and it was always about staying true to yourself, staying true to your dreams, and overcoming things to continue on with your dreams. And I noticed about myself is like I was the kid that like believed that your dreams could be possible. I was the kid that was in his living room with a basketball hoop that he made out of a hanger and a balled up sock that he used as a basketball, and thinking to himself, he's in the league and people are fouling him and he's persevering through it and he's still scoring and he's getting and ones. And then it, as life progressed, then it changed, and then it was like, I really want to pursue my music. And then in the beginning, I thought that I wanted to be what I saw on TV. And as I matured in life and I've gotten to this stage, it changed to where I didn't want to just be somebody that's famous, and I didn't want to just be somebody that like everybody knew. I just wanted to do something that I enjoyed doing where time didn't matter, and I could share with other people. And the people who were like minded would like it or see the vision behind it. And it stopped being about wanting to be recognized. And I've always felt like I've had something to give to the world. And maybe it was from the programming of being a Disney kid and a Nickelodeon kid, or maybe it was the way that I was brought up and feeling like I was somewhat invisible as a kid. And as I matured, realizing that I didn't have that many people around me that uplifted me. And I think throughout my life, I've always had people who were willing to help pick me up if I was down, but I didn't have people that were there to lift me up, if that makes sense. And I think that all I've ever wanted was just somebody to lift me up. As I matured, I've learned that I can pick myself up. I can dust myself off. I can have the self-belief in myself even when it's not as strong as it always is. I still have this feeling like I have something to give. And the only thing that I feel like that I'm missing, that I don't get in the Disney story, is that person that's willing to help lift you up, or let you know that they believe in you as well. And I think it's something that we kind of all deal with, and to a point where sometimes it'll, when you deal with life, it makes you somewhat angry and you don't even know what you're angry at. And I think the main person that you end up becoming angry at is yourself, like looking for the validation from those around you when really you never needed the validation of those around you. And you want to feel the feelings of being loved and being accepted. And sometimes along the journey what happens is, you come across things that help you grow, and sometimes those things separate you from the people that are around you or the people that you love. And it's not on purpose, but it just happens to go that way. And you know, I just think that sometimes, you just really want to prove to yourself that what you're doing is worth doing. And I've spent a lot of my life trying to do something that I know that in the end usually doesn't get the flowers that people who are well known get, and trying to become okay with just doing the journey and just loving the daily of it, but still wanting to be uh appreciated. And I always felt like at some point something would work out for me where I could make the things that I love to do my actual job, and I don't have to be the person that just goes to work, wakes up, take a shower, get ready, go to work, and rinse and repeat. And not that there's any shame in that, because I've been that person and I am that person, but just the thoughts that isn't there something more? And I think that, the Disney kids, we grew up in that era of believing in something more. And sometimes the worst part is seeing the people around you no longer believe in their dreams. There was a lot of people along the way that are my friends still that had the same dreams for themselves as I do. And, somewhere along the road, like life told them that they were getting older and they needed to do this or do that. And we got so many different things coming at us of what we should and shouldn't do and where we should and shouldn't be, that sometimes we lose the love for the journey. And I think usually that happens because we don't have the community around us to to water us as we're trying to grow. And the hard route is the easy route, which is saying that maybe my dreams aren't as obtainable as a normal life. But I think that when you do that, these things lead to like a certain level of excuse me, like depression. And like when you go to work, you can't really be who you truly are because you're not being who you truly are. And like for the longest time, I've always been kind of afraid tell the people that I work with or the people around me what it is that I like do with my spare time. Or like people ask me, "Hey, you took a week off, what happened?" And I just say, "Oh, I have business back home." But I really went to work on my album that I've been working on for almost a year, because it takes time to work up to have the money to put into it. And when you don't have anybody that you like are building with, and you are just the person who wears all the hats, it's kind of hard. And so you have to do everything on your own. And I don't have like a dad and a mom that I could call up and be like, "Hey, I need you for this or I need you for that." And so my whole life I've always just had to believe in myself and do things that could give me the money to do what I want to do. But then you end up stuck in that box, and then you look up and everybody's looking like, "Well, what are you doing?" And so sometimes I'll go back and I'll like look at YouTube videos from 13 years ago of songs that I put up, or mixtapes and albums, and I'll tell myself, "Damn, that like these things were really good and nobody really noticed." And I have to question myself of, well, was it that I really wanted somebody to notice, or did I just want to express myself and I just wanted to share my talents and put it out in the world? Like a lot of my friends are moved on with their lives and they got families, and I'm still like living like the kid that I was, who believed that he could give something to the world that would be special enough where he could make it his job. And along that journey, it opened me up to other things in life, and dogmas of life, and just everything that's happening that goes on, and all these different distractions that try to keep you from doing something that you deem as special. Because there's only so many routes in this life that you could take. And so you just kind of find your niche of the things that you like and you enjoy, and you just try to do those things in hopes that other people will find those things special, and the energy gets returned. And you do it for so long, and you put that ahead of everybody, including yourself, to the point where you start to be isolated from everybody. And then you start to question whether these people really love you or not, because you think to yourself, well, if they love me, then they would like pour into me, and they would, like, when you believe in something like a stock or something like that, you invest in it, and you know that, okay, if I put this $500 or $1,000 into this stock, maybe I'm not gonna get my 500 or my $1,000 back right now, but in the long run, over time, I'll get my money back. And what better way to invest your money than into a person? But how can you get people to believe in your dream when they stop believing in their own dream? Or maybe they're living out their dreams and they're so engulfed in their own dreams that they can't even see your dreams. And like somebody once asked me that I knew, they go, "Oh," they asked me about my merch, and I was like, "Well, you could get it on my website." And they said, "Oh, well, I didn't know you had a website." And it's like, well, I've had a website since 2016. that I have to pay for and all of these things. But like, you just kind of look for those moments in the story where somebody comes along and they believe in you as much as you believe in you to kind of help you continue to believe in you. Because, like the Disney movies, it's always somebody, along the way, like Shrek had Donkey, just every story that you can think of, there's always like that character that's there that is like a co-main character that helps the main character overcome obstacles when they're at their lowest point. And I've felt like my entire life that I've only been that person in my life. And if anything, I enjoy being that person in other people's lives. And I never gave up on the fact that, even when Hercules said, "Look, I'm an action figure," it was like, oh, well, there's still more that you could do. And I just want to be able to show people that there's something special within me. And hopefully that lets them know that there's something special within them that they have to give to the world as well. And I don't need to be super famous, and I don't need to be the most streamed person in the world, but I do want people to recognize that I do have talent. And I've said it before, but I know that I have talent and I have an eye for talent because I've seen talent in myself. And the long nights of cultivating that talent, the countless hours that has been put into a craft to try to be good at it, and it essentially being invisible. I could go and look at my views on anything that I've put out, and you know that you're like, wow, I do all of this and I put all this money into it and all this effort into it, and I work all these long hours to have money to put into it just for nobody to notice it. And that's when you learn that it's not for other people to notice, it's for you to prove it to yourself. And so when I go to the studio and I work with somebody and I work with the same people, and you hope that they would see their talent and want to pour into it, and everything's a business transaction with them, and you realize that like nobody's really going to see you for you except you. And as long as you see you for who you are, then that's all that matters. And if other people decide that they can see you as well, well, then that's just a bonus. I used to be so focused on the outcome, and now I see that what's more important is just proving to myself that I could do it. And I don't know where my life is going. And if I'm grading myself on a scale of with the world, I'm so far behind. But I still have this deep belief in myself that I can make my dreams come true. And I just hope that you would feel the same way about yourself. Because we're in a time where, things are changing, and I don't want to be stuck in a box of being something that I think that I'm more than. And I think all of us feel that way. Nobody dreams of saying, I'm gonna be the manager at McDonald's. they have dreams and aspirations, and they just so happen to have like end up being the manager of McDonald's. But if you're the manager of McDonald's, then you you want to find a way to move forward with your life. There's always these new challenges. And, I'm challenging myself to just be okay with the journey and not so focused on how it ends. And obviously they say, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. But at the end of the day, none of this stuff really matters anyway. So, what really matters is, can you live with yourself? And I feel like I've given up and I've lost so much trying to believe in myself and trying to get other people to believe in me, to the point where sometimes I ask myself, was it worth it? And after putting all the energy and effort into this project that I'm doing now, and then listening to old things that I've done so long ago and how they kind of all coincide and connect, even without me trying, even without me like deeply thinking about it, I say to myself, damn, it is worth it. Even though I don't get as many, people to see and people to recognize, it's worth it to me because I can leave this behind and maybe nobody ever comes across it, but maybe people do come across it. And maybe somewhere along the lines, people will recognize that, wow, he really did have really good talent. And there was things in there that I didn't even know that was there. And so, I just say all that to say that, to believe in yourself too. And don't be so focused on the outcome. And I get it that you got to think about your future and where you're going to be at and how you're going to make a way when you can make a way. But I think as long as you just continue to believe in yourself and be your biggest fan, that eventually things will work out. And if they don't, you have to be okay with that outcome. And I think that's the hardest part. And for me, as I've matured, I've realized that I am okay with the outcome. I'm okay that, people that are in my age are, doing things that are far beyond where I'm at. Also, most of them probably didn't have the upbringing that I had. But coming from where I came from to be where I'm at, to think the way that I think, I'm already a success. And now I just have to say to myself, what does being successful look like? And that's what you should be asking yourself as well. So, keep that belief in yourself. Keep that Disney movie belief of overcoming. And even those days when you get down and you feel like Buzz Lightyear did when he found out that he wasn't a real spaceman, that you can still overcome that and still say to yourself, well, even though these aren't real wings, I can still fly. And in my time, that is how I feel. So I just wanted to share that with you. Hopefully it means something to you. And stay suave and stay stupid. And I'll see you guys on the next one.